first I want to call Mwangota, Ms. Mwangota Shisale. She's the head of corporate communications at Tigo Tanzania. Please. Okay. Then secondly, I want to call Ms. Rukia, and she is the manager for brand and communications at Vodacom Tanzania. Sorry, at Santel Tanzania. Okay. Miss Nelu, I call her Nelu or Nelusigwe. She'll come in as well. She's from Vodacom in Tanzania. And then last but not least, we have Miss Nelusigwe, who's from Safaricom Limited in Kenya. So without taking much time, so I'll just begin with the first two ladies who are very close to me, and this is Miss Rukia and Mwangota. And I just want us to have a conversation to understand better why did Tigo Tanzania, why did Santel choose to make an effort to reach more women, and what are you doing to reach more women in the post-COVID? So we can start with you, Wendy.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I think we are not far from the research findings that are being released today, but our decision was actually based on the research was done 2015 and 2014 on the gender mobile usage and ownership and usage. So that statistic actually shocked us, and it's actually opened our eyes and seen that there's a lot of opportunity into this, because most women are not connected, and they're not connected for so many reasons, including the economic reasons, access to towers and natural economic systems. In the country, the social economic system that remove women from the economy systems. So from there, then we started doing some a little research, and we started in 2014. We partnered with Care International, and we started we wanted to bring the research to Tanzania and see what are the reasons that prevent women from participating in the digital lifestyle and financial inclusion, that is digital financial inclusion. So we worked with 400 women by then, and we had a cohort study where among women we gave them free handset feature phones, and then we had another group which was not given phones, and then we had another group that was given phones after 6 months. So the first group that would receive phones, and then we worked with them, analyzing some of the things why is it important for them to be connected. And the first thing that came out from them was they want to be connected because they want to stay connected to their societies. I think it's a human nature. We all want to be connected. We want to talk to our friends, families, and things like that. But the second point was because they want to send and receive money from friends and family who are not within their vicinity. And the third thing was they wanted to be connected and get access to internet. So apparently the phones that were given were not internet enabled. So these were the three main things that came out from that small research involving 400 women. And the other one, we had three groups. The second group, which were given money, almost 40% spent the money by purchasing the phones of their interests. So at least you see, even if you don't give women phone, but when they have money, they can actually buy a phone. So from that findings, we thought now it will be important for us to scale that initiative, and we are now working with Japaigo. It's organization, US-based organization working in Tanzania. So we're working with Japaigo now with the same model, giving women access to handsets, but now doing cash transfer. Because Japaigo they have an initiative where they want to transfer cash to vulnerable women, and then we thought instead of doing the normal getting the normal process where you go to the village or identify women and then give them cash, why not introducing the digital Jotago, and we've reached at least 11,200 women, and the results have been amazing. The 92% of women that we've reached so far, they have been able to train them, and they're trained on how to use phones and how to use mobile money. So we realized that with the incentive, the first transaction that is made to these women, which is almost like $30 US, it's acting as an incentive because they are now, some of them have now started to save their own money. When with the little or small business that they're doing, they're able to save money. Not only that, but also these women, because what the head of Connected Women just said, when women own these funds, they're able to, the funds are able to benefit the family because they're the decision maker, not the decision, they're making decision with that money. With all the social and family dynamics, but they're able to make decisions and decide where they want to spend money because the cash is unconditional. So some of them are taking this money and investing into their small businesses. But we've seen, like, how this has transformed them because they now have ownership, they have access to mobile phone, they can call friends. But the fact that we are giving them, they're receiving money in their mobile wallet, they are now using, they've changed their behavior. They are now using the mobile wallet to save their own money and from other sources of income activities.
Excellent. I think you've heard how the importance of understanding the women's needs and the impact of mobile money or mobile internet on the women's lives, which is very good. Rukia, would you also let us in on why Zanta made a commitment and very good on the initiatives that
Good afternoon. And taking up to where Wenda has left, Zanta is strong in Zanzibar. And in Zanzibar, the culture itself is pushing the women down. So everything in the household, you see men coming up, even when doing business. Once the family gets the income from the small businesses that they're doing, everything is owned by men. And at that juncture, when men are getting the money, instead of benefiting the whole family, they have a tendency of going to get a new wife, another wife. So we thought that here, that's the culture. But now I think things are now changing. But here we thought that Zanta needs to come in and assist these women to come up and economically, so that as we all know that in Africa, women tend to take care of their families more. So we saw that the main business women in Zanzibar are doing is seaweed farming, and they were doing in small scale, without any knowledge, management. So we thought Zanta should come in and assist them in educating and then assisting them, giving funds to increase their capital for seaweed farming. To start with, last year we started with 2,000 women who form a group of seaweed farmers in Zanzibar. We give them first the education on mobile money and how they can save and increase their capital through mobile interactions. And we taught them how to use the internet, because that is now everywhere, that you can learn something via internet, how to increase their businesses, how to do a better farming and maybe have a connection with other people in other continents or anywhere doing the same businesses. And then we worked with a university in Zanzibar to teach the women on management, fund management, entrepreneurship, and management in totality. Right now, out of the 2,000 women, we have around 50% which has excelled from the point where we found them. Now, making decisions in their families, taking their girl children to school. Because previously it was thought that the girl position in the family is in or at the kitchen all the time. They were just nurturing them to be good wives. But now you see a little bit more girl children going further than the primary school education. That is just because we've tried to see that women need a little bit of informal education to make sure that the new generation now will get a formal education through the mobile connectivity. And we are also partnering with mHealth, making sure that the small part of the educating the women through the feature phones that they have. Because of the economic situation, they could not, in the first place, they could not afford to have the smartphones. Yeah. So they're teaching them on how to, about their health, maternal health. Then you're using the same platform, teaching them on money matters. And we're using the same thing. With this is a pilot group that we are working with, thinking that after Zanzibar, we'll use the same, spreading it out along the coast, because the coastal line of Tanzania and Zanzibar are also in the same culture, that the woman is not supposed to be in the position of managing funds for the family. But we've seen the changes now. All the families that have women in this program that we have, we see a change, that there's more development, more money saving, things that the lifestyle of those families are changing. So we thought that we should concentrate on educating women on money matters, mobile, now with the ability of having the bank in their hands. And that's where we're starting, and further we go on.
Okay, excellent. And it's very good that what you've mentioned is around understanding what the challenges are and what the issues the women are facing, and then addressing it. And you talked about training and education, which is very good. Now, I'm sure most of you must have been in the first session where we had the opening remarks, and you did hear the Director General of the GSMA announcing the new commitment partners who've joined the other partners, and we're looking at 30 new operators signing on. Now, Vodacom Tanzania and Safaricom in Kenya were among the ones that were announced as new partners coming on board. And we also have their representatives here on the panel. We have Nelusigwe from Vodacom. And I think the question to you, because you just recently signed on and it's very fresh in your blood in terms of signing this initiative, maybe you can tell us again why you saw the need to make this commitment, and what do you see as the opportunity? What do you see as the future in the next couple of years? What are the opportunities that you see in making this decision?
Good afternoon. Well, Vodacom have made the announcement to commit on connecting women recently, but even before this announcement, we have been doing things to improve the lives of the women. We are not far from what the previous operators have been saying, because we all operate in the same industry, and the challenges which these women live in are somehow similar. So, for example, like for Vodacom, there had been different initiatives. One of them is actually trying to solve some of the very critical challenges the women of the Tanzania face. One of them is the medical issues. Most of the women face the problem, for example, of fistula, which they get after childbearing. And based on those health conditions, they cannot even move out of their household. Some of them, their families abandon them. And Vodacom get into a point where it identifies the women with that problem, make sure that they get funds to transport them from where they are, and most of them is on the interior parts of the country, bring them to the hospital facilities and get the treatment. How they get the funds was via the use of the mobile money. So we can see that how the technology and the use of the mobile services make an impact to these women. And that was done even before making the official commitment. So there were things which were also Vodacom, it was doing to make sure that the society at large is benefiting from its services. The other reason is that we know in the normal household, in normal Tanzanian families, women assume the role of managing the finances in the family. it's actually range from the generation of the income, whichever. It can be very small, but it's the parts which enable them to provide for the necessity in the families. They are also involved in planning to make sure that the needs, the immediate needs of the family are met, and also they make like a small short-term and even long-term plans to meet the needs of their family. Now they need a tool, an easier tool which they can access it with the conveniences of where they are operating from, for them to make it more efficient and get better results. Because we know that if these women get the tools, improve their financial position, then even the children they are raising will have a better life than those of their mothers. So this will create actually a ripple effect, not only to their families, but to the society at all, even to the industry. Because if we have a more financial stable society, even the industry will benefit, the country will benefit. So those are among the things which make Vodacom make this commitment. Because it also enables us to have like clear targeted goals. Because with this commitment, we can now say that by this time, we want to be here. So this will also be a challenge to us to make sure that we meet the commitment we have made and within the specified time period.
All right, thank you very much. And I think something I'll just speak to what you say is about meeting your commitment at a certain time, which is what then means to you is it's action that you're measuring and consistent and deliberately acting towards reaching your goal, which is really good. Now over to you, Eunice.
Okay. For us in Safaricom, the woman agenda is bigger than just the engagement with the customer. Starting from the basis of the saying that says, if you educate a woman, you educate a community. And with that notion in mind, we sit back and say, then what can we do as a telecom in terms of reaching more women to be able to impact the society, and as such, be able to impact more people in a wider area. If I could use a common phrase used in Kenya, I'll say it in Swahili and then I'll translate it for those who wouldn't understand. They say, mwanamume ni effort, mwanamke ni standards. So that means the man is all about effort, but the woman is all about keeping the standards in the home.
Introducing them to digital financial services, we also want to see the impact, because we are training them also, we're giving them economic empowerment trainings, because we want to see them like they're able to progress.
Do we have more new names coming in with registration particulars which are women? Now we are seeing the graph is going up, seeing that now women have access to mobile phones and access to whatever the systems that we're looking at, penetration to education, penetration to mobile money, easy-pesa. The transactions which are going through the same new subs. Are they for women, or are they literally going to men? So this is one of the KPIs that we're looking at. And with the partners that we're partnering with, we see through their reports, are they having new numbers coming in that women are registering to their services? Like, are we having women getting M-Health education? And are we having, sometimes when registering men and women, we'll have a few men coming in to see what their wives are being trained here, because they need support. So these are the reports that we're getting from partners and from the details that we have set internally.
Well, on the Vodacom side, yes, there are KPIs, but also the most important is the social impact. The example which I gave, for example, for the Vistol, how many women have got Vistol? So far, we have treated around 3,000 women. Now, you cannot say that these women, they will become Vodacom customers and they will make money out of that. But the social impact you have made by treating those women is so much magnified, and it's also passing through the society. These women can be ambassadors for Vodacom without even you asking them. they will go out there and say that Vodacom did X, Y, Z for me. So it's not only about the revenue KPIs, it's also about what is it that you're giving back to the society.
Okay, I think from a Safaricom point of view, the thought is always if you get it right with the customer, then the revenue will trickle in. So key KPIs we're looking at is the penetration across the key things, be it mobile internet, because with higher penetration on mobile internet, then you're able to deliver a lot better propositions to those customers, more relevant products that they can then use. We're looking at mobile money, because then of course financial empowerment is critical in being able to reach and empower the woman. So then are they using the mobile money services? Are they saving with us? So looking at the saving behaviors of women. Over and above that, just like my colleague said, overall penetration of the woman on your customer base. Are women now more confident to own and register a line on their own? Does this then speak to other issues of are women being able to access national identification, which is a critical element when you're then engaging customers and bringing them onto the network? Then of course with that, then once you have an active customer on, for example, mobile money, everything else starts to happen. I'll not only have the line to transfer money, I'll use it to call. So you engage on other elements from a telco perspective like voice, SMS, and the person then begins to be more in touch with their environment.
Okay. Just in the interest of time, I think I'll just pick who's going to answer the questions so that we don't take too much time. So there was a question around access. And access, I'd want to understand what is the impact, just as the question was, in terms of access and networks, in terms of them being able to reach women, whether it's in the rural areas and the urban areas. And let me pose that question to you, Eunice. What can be done?
Okay, we would look at access in two ways. First, then it would be pointless to have solutions that cannot be used. If you're not reaching the ends of the country in terms of network, then it would be futile to have those solutions. As we said, majority of these people are still on feature phones or low-end data-enabled phones. So key, of course, is to continue rolling out network within those far reached out areas. I guess interoperability begins to address some of that, because then we are forced to use each other's strengths to reach the wider market, and in that way then we're able to impact a lot more people. Probably those are the things that need to force us, and maybe answering the question of what are we doing together, maybe interoperability is what will force us to sit and think and work together, because this has not been the trend in the telecommunications industry. The other thing is accessibility and affordability, because then if I can't afford the device, then you're just telling me stories. So looking at, are we able to subsidize the devices in partnership with the device owners in the room? Happy to see Huawei here in a big way. How are you partnering with them to reduce the price of the entry-level phone, so that then you begin to penetrate at that level? Because then if you're talking big data propositions, apps, yet the majority of the base, for example at Safaricom, still have a huge base of customers, about 80% still on feature phones or low-end data devices. So address affordability so that then you're able to reach a lot more people. Like we said, free sometimes doesn't always work, because who wants to have a free? But you want to feel you got to a certain level. So address the price points, and of course network coverage.
Okay, very quickly to the gentleman's question, and I'll point this to you here, because you talked about social cultural issues and addressing them. How do you, beyond building the societies, how do you address gender, looking at males? And I don't know whether you address it with education. What do you see as the role the men will play in this organization?
Well, in African society, I would say men always like to feel as the head of any community. That's how it is. Now, addressing this to women, at the first time we always meet some blockage. Men do not allow the wives to come for them to learn anything, to come to be trained. But slowly, when we start speaking to them, that we just want to empower your wife, not to disrespect you, but to assist you and support you. And with these times when economy is not very good, having two people supporting one family will be an easier job for the man. So slowly, when educating the women, we urge them to come with their husbands and their male partners, so that they know what we are teaching them, what we want them to be, what we want them to become. So with time, they tend to relax and knowing that this is not only teaching them to be activists against us, but supporting us. So it trickles down to their clubs where they see they start talking about it. So a lot of men start allowing their wives to get the education, and eventually they keep supporting them, coming to these education panels, education groups, at least to learn what's going on, and then they support them.
Okay, all right. So thank you very much. I know there are two other questions, and in case they've not been answered, very quickly.
Only come up with World Wide Web Foundation. My question would be, what kind of policy recommendations would you make with regards to affordability? Because we know that affordability is one of the key reasons, amongst many, of course, that women are not necessarily connecting online. There's also other issues like harassment of women online. So there's some real issues beyond just them not having access to a phone. But just in terms of affordability specifically, what kind of policy recommendations would be it around competition, taxation, infrastructure sharing, but what do you think is that key policy adoption that we need to see across the board to begin to drive at affordability for internet access?
Okay, so very quickly, anyone who wants to answer the question?
I think for me, I think it's very important to have a policy that deliberately addressing this gender gap that we are talking about. And it cuts across access, it cuts across usage, it cuts across education, because the other challenge that we're facing with women is literacy. Most women, the phone is ringing, but they don't know which button to press so that they can pick a phone. So we need to start educating. When you're talking about educating girl child, it has to start from when these women are young, to educate them, but also to have what my colleague just said, to have devices that are affordable, you see. So to address, I think the policy needs to address the issue of education and then economic empowerment, because you have policies like different policies in African countries, and particularly maybe in Tanzania being one of them, where you find like women are not allowed to own things. So such policies actually need to be changed to allow women to own things and to participate in the economy. So these, I think, are my recommendation will be my recommendation for this.
Anyone else before I close?
I think to hit the nail on the head is more around though we keep saying we need to look at social impact, at the backbone of every organization is the revenue number. So if there can be stricter policies about the spend on subsidy, for example, because that's directly related to then what happens to the end user. If it's a percentage of revenue or of purchased devices in the market, what percentage then goes into subsidy? So then it's conscious that you have to meet these kind of policies. If you look at taxation as well, majority of the costs that hinder being able to do the subsidy on the devices is the import tax. And the fact that, we have zero-rated, for example, in Kenya, zero-rated tax on laptops, and let's begin from the bottom. Laptop is right there. Our government tried to do the laptop project for primary schools, only to start and realize it's bigger than you actually imagine. And carrying around a laptop for a primary school child, or even being able to sustain them, the mobile device is easily carryable. So how can we consciously look at what the government can do and what the telcos can do? Because then if it's one-sided, it becomes a battle. But those are the two key things that anybody will look at. The numbers have to make sense after all.
Right. So if I can just add on the policies, there are also some of the changes which we have started to see, and they help the telco industry, specifically in the areas of the cost, because among the costs is the building of the network. Now, if each operator has to build its network, it becomes very costly. Now, there are initiatives, and it's actually happening in Tanzania, where the operators are actually sharing some of the infrastructure. So that will make actually the affordability possible, because there will be a cost reduction.
Right. Thank you very much. So there's something that we always have as a tradition for all our commitment partners. We get them to sign on a banner to say that yes, we are going to deliver on our commitment. So Tigo, Tanzania, and Zantel signed off when they made a commitment. So I'd like to call upon Nelusigwe and Eunice to join us there and just append their signature to say yes, their organizations are committed to reaching those goals.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the cameras as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Quite a diverse range of views and presentations, but what we got first is to support, for example, the payment ecosystem. So financing agents so that you have a wide distribution of funds, you're able to reach as many people as possible. Second is to interact with groups already working with women. Third is to have a comprehensive analysis to understand the barriers to access. The fourth is we also realize that some women are not able to register because they don't have the documents required. So to have collaboration with the government and things like that. And last one is to involve men in financial education.
Excellent. Great. And now I'll move to this group. What did you guys come up with? Anything else that hasn't been said or you want to emphasize?
All right, and we looked at the three primary barriers of all of your findings, and we thought, how can we kind of counter that, or how can we tackle these issues? And then the first one was, which I guess isn't that innovative, is use education to increase women's confidence through community education. Another one could be to use a microcredit scheme or providing subsidies with like a token system to provide money that was obviously lacking in your study. And then kind of like a broad PR campaign with all the actors involved to raise awareness of the use of mobile money, and then what you also said, involve the traditional structures of a society, like the elders or men that are kind of on top of that, to have a trickle-down effect towards and getting more girls and women involved.
Great. And now move to this group. What did you guys? So by the way, we're taking notes so we can learn from you, and we will.
So one of the observations was that it's often social norms that are the barriers, and that there's a need for formative research and human-centered design to surmount those, as well as potentially intentionality by the regulator in alignment with commercial incentives so that it can become part of the operating models of mobile operators, to create incentives to promote informal mechanisms for education around financial inclusion, potentially around micro-entrepreneurship or micro-franchising with some of the services that wrap around, like becoming a mobile money agent, potentially for women. I think as a general observation, universal access funds have in some places rebranded as universal service funds, but access isn't universal. If you have a phone, access is universal, but not everyone has a phone. And there's this gender gap, and I think there's a question to be asked as to whether the regulator has a role in intentionally addressing that barrier directly, because actually access is not completely solved, and tackling those norms and knowledge.
And move to the group at the back. What did you like to share from your discussions?
Yes, I think some of the things that we found are not very different from some of the findings from the other groups. But we also try to look at the barriers and how do we address each of the barriers. So one of the key barriers was, of course, lack of understanding. So we thought it's very important that for us to bridge this gender gap, it's important that we roll out financial literacy education specifically for women. And basic things like what is interest, what is saving, at least that understanding could enable women to start trying out research. But of course, it came out clear that when you want to roll out this interactive education in-person trainings, they tend to be very expensive. So the question was, how do we address that? So it was also saying that probably merging some of the digital platforms to convey that, to translate that in-person curriculums, probably can help solve the cost element. But also it was important that we need to segment these groups to understand these women, what walks of life are they in, what, if it's agriculture, what body chains are they in, so that this education is sort of tailor-made to their economic activities. But the other thing was to address that perceived lack of need. We thought it's important that these financial services are actually showcased to women in different ways, whether through, as some of them people say, through advertising campaigns or through in-person activations, so that when the women see that, wow, is this easy for me to transact through a mobile phone, at least that would help them to sort of try to get started. The other element was breaking cultural barriers. I think some of the different speakers have said how the husband is sort of making the decision in financial transactions, while in fact the wife is the breadwinner, etc., etc. And well, this cannot be easy or cannot come overnight. It requires efforts from policymakers, activists, etc. And it's an investment. It's a long-term investment. But we believe that it's important that we break these cultural barriers, which are sort of limit women from actually leading on this.
And final group, anything to add from your?
Yes, so our group looked at the barriers that we thought that really needed to be addressed in depth. We looked at affordability, cost associated with accessing internet, when it comes to mobile money transaction, the actual transaction cost and affordability, the fact that women don't see the value of engaging in, let's say, mobile money because they don't understand the timing or the time essence of it, the value of it. And then we looked at education and digital literacy. Most women have, a phobia with devices, using the device in the first place. So we need to empower women with digital education. And then there's also the issue of registration. Women feel more comfortable being served by their peers, especially when you have these on-ground projects where women in the rural areas don't feel comfortable being served by men, or there's a perception of being not well acquainted with the technology. So they feel much more comfortable if they are having to conduct a transaction with their fellow woman in this case, who probably has a little bit of knowledge of the mobile transaction. Yeah.
Excellent. I think very wide ranging, and I think it shows that the kind of what we need to do is, quite diverse. We have to tackle lots of different barriers. I thought I would share when we looked at the modeling Cote d'Ivoire specifically, and what we looked at our recommendations. So the first one was broad, that was around leveraging marketing and distribution efforts to increase awareness and understanding that come with owning and using mobile money. So it's targeted distribution campaigns, marketing campaigns to women to learn how to carry out transactions and have less fear of making mistakes, losing money. So for example, leveraging existing agent networks and create incentives for agents to educate customers on how the service works and why it's relevant. Often that, while agents are incentivized to activate or register, but there's not so much often incentivization to educate. Because of this confidence issue you mentioned, women often have lower confidence, and so improving customer education can be helpful. Looking at what partnerships can be done to launch customer education campaigns around use cases that are relevant to women, including female characters and marketing materials so that women feel the services for them. We heard a lot in our research, it's not for us, it's for others. Dispelling that it's just for merchants or business people to use the service. So how do you make sure it's the right characters, use cases in the marketing? And to overcome the literacy barrier, using local languages in the marketing material to explain the benefits and use. Again, we didn't always see in some of the, it always being in the sort of local language. And then the sort of second bucket around ensuring that the products are relevant and meets women's needs. So we saw a low level of awareness of existing products to meet women's needs. In the research, again, women said we want to save, we want to do this. They weren't aware that they could do it with those products. So such as savings, so using marketing distribution. Sort of creating incentive schemes to encourage transition from cash-based to mobile money, because the women who did make that conversion then expounded a lot about the benefits. So how can you do promotions such as discounts or loyalty bonuses to help make that shift, to get them overcome that fear factor to shift to using some of these digital services, getting regular users to sign up friends and families, for example. Creating cases that mirror women's financial behaviors, like savings groups. There's a lot of women in Africa are in savings groups. There's very few products for savings groups, so are there products that can mirror some of those behaviors? Create services that cater with those with inconsistent income, like in the informal sector. Then the next one was around using the agent network. Obviously agents have a huge role in registering and supporting customers. So, and employing roving agents. A lot of women were in remote locations or less mobile, and so roving agents was something that was seen to be a benefit. In getting sure agents are trained and can communicate about the use cases, incentivized to do the use cases, and looking at the data and which agents are being more effective and why they are. Then another one, the sort of penultimate one, was around phone ownership. We think it's really important to close the phone ownership gap, because we saw that that phone ownership was a big lack of phone ownership is a big driver, reason why women weren't using mobile money. If you don't have your own phone, it's very hard to use the service. So how do we address that? And then doing a lot more around using the data. There's a lack of gender disaggregated data, or a lack of looking at the data that exists to really understand who to target, and researching women's wants and needs. It's just that is a huge area, but if one could sort of do a bit more on that, we think we could really